Envy, maybe get something like the Shen you were talking about for Seraph to be able to join the team more frequently, or at the very least get him a better, lane matchup to have some priority in the top lane so he can kind of be that voice for the team.
Yep, he's definitely more of a Renekton guy, so we'll see what happens in the draft. LeBlanc and Kalista banned out by Envy, so there's an adaptation already taking a marksman away from Arrow. Galio, Zac banned by Phoenix1. Looks like Caitlyn's soon to come on that side of the draft. We'll see what Envy want for their final Taster's Choice ban, I'll call it. You do get some leeway on the blue side.
Yeah, is the Elise going to come through first? Or are you going to go with the Caitlyn? Oh, neither. Which comes out? Interesting. So we may be having a first pick, either Elise or Caitlyn on our hands. Team Envy are trying to get one of them right now, I would assume.
And there are some options here for Phoenix1. We'll see if they change things up and maybe look to trade one of those away. Discussion though, I believe the Caitlyn's still banned. So Elise, like you mentioned, jumps out as the obvious first pick for Envy, and they do not disappoint.
All right, there you go, Lyra. Now he's got something he can work with. Take a look at the answer here from Phoenix1. As far as the bottom lane, double pick, I would assume.
Well, there's Varus, actually one of Arrow's trademark champions this split. I did see Kindred for a second. That is not the answer to Elise. Despite changes incoming.
There it is.
And there's Braum once again. I mean, I think it was a good point with the analyst desk, kind of hearing how, especially with a double marksman comp, how valuable Braum can be. He's not just one of the best supports and great at protecting Arrow, but great in those sort of comps. So I think it's a great pick for Special. I think it makes sense for Arrow here. So Team Envy knew they had to give something up, and I think this bottom lane is really what they're trading.
It's interesting too, because the other thing is that the Talia has gone through pick bans because the sides have switched here, and so Phoenix1 didn't get to give those target bans and direct them at Furion. Yet no Talia has been picked up in the first round, so they don't seem to think it's as important to their success as it kind of showed in those early games from Furion. And they've gone for the Morgana first there. I would assume for the bottom lane. Technically, that could also still be a Furion pick, but I would definitely think that that is into the Braum to deny those stuns.
To be heavily flexed, Xayah and Morgana are actually the next two selections for Phase 1, as Renekton's the final pick there for Zig. So could have taken Corki, I think, debating which lane they wanted to give priority to, but I think with how good Renekton is, it's a very easy blind pick for Zig.
Yeah, I do agree with you with how important it is to, have a winning matchup versus Seraph. It seems like if he doesn't have a winning matchup, then he becomes fairly lost in the games as to, how to help out the team or how to hold up in the 1-versus-1 side lanes. And I think that Phoenix1 definitely have their clear strategy. Again, want to get Zig, that Renekton, push up, and hopefully get him some lane presence.
Yep, banning Jace away again, so taking that pick from Seraph will probably take the Shen as well, if trends are going to hold true. Envy, though, lining up their first ban of phase number 2. It is Nidalee, so Mike Young, I think, did consider taking a jungler there with Elise already taken, but actually going to be pushed down a few champions, which is kind of nice to see for the new player onto the team and also the LCS. What else can he play when starting to eat a few more jungle?
The other one you would be wondering is, are they going to follow that up with the Lee Sin ban to completely block him out?
I hope so.
Yeah, or are they going to try and change directions there as far as the mid lane role? Doesn't seem like there would be too much there for him to pinch, actually.
Ooh, Kassadin, all right. I mean, there are a lot of mid lane champs in the metagame right now, so Kassadin's kind of a curious selection. I wonder if Envy have a really specific pick in mind, as Arrow's going to flush us Pantheon. That would be another unique mid lane champion, but I don't think that one's happening.
Top lane.
Or jungle. Instead, maybe Lee Sin is the selection like you expected here.
Yeah, the other of Mike Young's big picks. No surprise there. He's already performed pretty well on it in the LCS as well, so don't expect him to have any of that stage fright.
Nope, most played solo queue champion as well, I believe, for him, so certainly a ton of experience behind this champion. I'm a little sad to see Envy not really pick on the jungler, but looks like they're trying to set something else up, maybe with the Corki passing a potential counter pick there, and looks like that will be stolen away from Ryu. But we'll see how Pyrion handles this champion. Jarvan going to be the last pick. I do like this champion for Sarah.
Yeah, I really like Jarvan right now just because he's very versatile. I do think that Phoenix1 could still go with a top focus. Lee Sin and Renekton is also, very good at bullying early on. Not as good at pulling off the dives because they don't have the repel to reset, but can definitely apply the pressure in the same place. And if Jarvan uses his Q for the trades, then it becomes very easy to gank. It's kind of what you want to do in that matchup, is you go aggressive on him as just the top laner before the jungler even gets there, and as soon as he trades back with you with any of his abilities, then he's very exposed, and it's easy for Lee Sin to kind of get in there because he'll also be melee.
Well, there's last pick Orianna for Phoenix1, so Ryu going to play the reverse of the game 1 mid lane matchup. Ryu had a pretty good time, although they were mostly farming, it felt like, for the laning phase. So we'll see if Ryu can get an edge here in that 1v1, or if it's just going to be another split lane. I think EnVy assembling a much more standard team comp. And this was kind of one of the other things I wanted to point out by EnVy. I feel like they looked very good when they had a read on the metagame and compositions and champions that really suited them. Caitlyn for Apollo, kind of early on the Energizer build. Pyrion on the likes of Taliyah and Ahri, and Seraph finding his bruiser. You know, Jace and Shannon are consistently getting banned away from this team. And I think EnVy, the biggest thing for me throughout the split will be, can they adapt as things change? Because this seems like a very slow team to adapt, but when they find their picks, they do look very good.
All right, well, we are probably in for some good 5-on-5 fights for this game. The two compositions matching up here pretty close. We'll be looking closely at those interactions with the Morgana shield as well. They can try and keep Pyrion's Corki in the mid lane mobile and away from those pesky Braum stuns.
And again with the hot new jungler on the block in Mike Young and Lyra, the aggressive powerhouse. This will be a fun jungle matchup. Lee Sin Elise is one for the ages as far as jungle matchup goes, but these two players in particular should put on quite a show. We had a rather subdued early game, so I'm going to see if teams want to pick up the pace here. So onto the rift for game number 2.
I would guess that these are the two most picked jungle champions of all time in competitive play.
I think that's maybe even true for solo queue. I know Lee Sin is up there as far as regular play goes.
Yeah.
So I think you might be right. Certainly two of the oldest jungle champions and two of the most popular. We'll see what they can get done here. As it looks like another 5-man fan out for both sides. Lyra having a giggle in the brush, just hanging out. And it looks like the teams, if trends will hold, will not be getting any super aggressive early vision. Saw a little bit of... Did see again some attempted vision getting, but no one claimed it. I think instead, people are just happy to assume that the starts will be standard. And EnVy did do a good job tracking Mike Young's early aggressive jungle route with the additional help from the duo lane. We'll see if Mike Young has something else spiced up here.
Yeah.
Actually going to move back over to the right-hand side.
This series is actually, you know, fairly important for Team EnVy as well, because you mentioned them kind of sitting in the middle there of the standings, and they've always kind of been on the cusp of making it into playoffs. And they were really looking to make a surge, especially with the mid lane changes. I thought that was going to be a super positive change for the squad and be enough to kind of push them into the playoffs. And you know, taking down Phoenix1 here, who are currently standing in last at the very bottom of the standings there with the likes of Team Liquid, would be very good at boosting them up in time to climb those standings in time for the playoffs to really get kicked off. Here we go though. We have the classic super hard leash on the red side of the map. That means that Apollo and Hakuo do sacrifice some extra minions and go to lane a little bit later, but with the double range matchup, they were able to pick it up. Let's see though, what will it pay off into? Lyra is off to a very early double buff level 3, which should result in a gank here on top towards Ziggs, because Ziggs has not been able to put his ward down. 2.5 minutes, should be expecting it though, and as he leaves the lane, it's just about the time that Lyra finishes, so not going to be able to make his way up there. Didn't even want to go for the blast cone to get himself in place.
Actually invading Mike Young, who still has his smite. Gonna miss that first Q though, and they're already having the double up since he has the edge here in this 1v1. Mike Young should get the big raptor, does do so, but Lyra gonna just chase him off. Maybe even the red buff here with Pyrion pushing in the mid lane.
He saw that Mike Young only has his blue buff currently.
Ooh, gets aggressive as well, stuns him down as Mike Young forced the ward hop away, loses the blast going out of his jungle, and Lyra back with his smite's gonna take this red buff.
That's why these hard leashes on the bottom side, especially effective. You get off to such an early clear, you have a time advantage here on the enemy jungler, and MikeYang gets bullied completely out of the red quadrant. Lyra not only takes the red buff and a couple of the small raptors, but he's going for the Krugs as well. And might even affect that top lane matchup.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, MikeYang just cleans up that Scuttle Crab on the bottom side because that's the only thing left.
Yep, takes what he can, but scraps, unfortunately for him. Envy off to the much better start as far as the early jungle situation goes. Have a check-in with Ryu and Pyrion right now. Farm looking even, but you did see Pyrion get that push advantage with the Corki, which aided Lyra in his invade. And we saw bottom side, Apollo and Hakuo also getting aggressive, which is where they've surprisingly looked the most comfortable. I think that's been a trend that Hakuo was a player that's really showed off since his time in the LCS, but definitely not Apollo. So again, a more unconventional bot duo here with Saya and Morgana, kind of sticking to more of their picks, but gonna make it work for now early on in that 2v2.
Uh-oh, top lane, MikeYang, and Seraph has no vision.
Again, the newfound friendship's gonna help them out. Seraph's gonna get slowed down, flashes out of the way, flag, and drags to safety.
Nice escape. Be able to get out of there. MikeYang goes for the super early completion there. They thought he was gonna be able to burst them down. That's why he went flash Q to guarantee that he lands it. And then going for the execute pretty early on, but not able to finish it off. And Seraph, wisely, you have to flash first, then go for your flag and drag because he didn't want to get interrupted, and he uses the flag and drag knockup. Oh my goodness, payback!
This is a really nice play from Lyra. Zig gonna try and fight, but he's got nowhere to run. He's got his flash, but it's not gonna matter. Lyra grabbing first blood. And now bottom side, Apollo in trouble, stun. Not gonna connect, but the heal does get burnt. Summoner down for Envy in the 2v2.
And that's kind of the classic, right? The overconfidence after you just got a gank from your jungler sometimes stay around in lane too long and puts you in this false sense of security where you overextend, having just beaten the other top laner out of their own lane. But Lyra, with the very intelligent timing there, just goes to take advantage of it. They know that Zig wants to get the minion wave under the turret, and you kind of have to, as the jungler there as well, on Zig's side, help your top laner get that job done, because getting the minions under the turret is very important. Meanwhile, down bottom lane, a weird cocoon.
Yeah, looking for Arrow, I think, but not going to land it. Hakuo now tagged himself as a 2v3 attempt is going to be started here by P1. Hakuo low, but there's the repel out from Lyra, who gets exhausted by Spectral. Arrow charging it up, but not enough to chunk. Hakuo flash witness by is blocked by Apollo. Now the root, who's going to follow Spectral. Lyra gets a second kill.
You okay, Special? Flashing for that Q, definitely exposed himself. Meanwhile, top lane, Zig going big.
Yeah, popping the ulti. Seraph only level 5, so just has to walk way under the turret. Grasp proc, but another route down. Apollo gonna grab the next one. As Lyra still chasing, Arrow flashed out of the way, but he's level 5 as well with almost no health to speak of. Thunderlord's proc, but it's not enough to kill him. Arrow gonna barely get away.
Yeah, but is he? The Corki's on him.
Oh, period! Phosphorus bomb roams all the way down from mid lane, and Envy collect kills all across the map.
Definitely a comedy down in the bottom side, as that got very chaotic. And, you know, Lyra, even though he starts it out splitting the two members with his cocoon, so much P1 aggression turns around on them. This one was a good play by Hakuo. This time, MikeYang was helping to try and push the minion waves into the turret. But good there, flash from Hakuo does punish him, and they leave the kill here. Pyrion doesn't even bother with the blast cone. Valkyrie's right over it, and then leaves an extra kill there for himself.
Well,
all right.
Envy, 4 kills up already, and almost 2,000 gold, and it's a lot on the back of P1, kind of throwing themselves at Envy. For every comedy on one side in League, the other side is tragedy. And that is what P1 have found themselves into. The Ryu are going to try and turn their fortune back around. Never mind, getting roamed on by Hakuo as Ryu's not going to have to run out of there. Great fighting, though, it's going to land in, and yet another kill for Envy.
But wait, the flash and the heal were available.
And not used. Morgana binding lasting too long.
Good plays here and good roam from Hakuo, but you have to worry about the openings that Phoenix1 are presenting here to Team Envy. After winning the first game with such a good snowball, they are giving this one right back to Team Envy, and this is going to even up the series. It looks like a very, very massive start with an Infernal Drake on the way. This looks like it could be the reverse, where Envy snowball ahead very quickly.
And that's generally how EnVy have kind of found their way into winning games here. Very aggressive play to really early snowballs. I mean, P1 played pretty calm early game, honestly, in game number 1, and then snowballed together as a team playing around the map after getting some lane advantages here and there. This time around, it's EnVy that have found themselves with the early leads, and P1 might struggle to recover if EnVy keep pushing the pace. And given how well the plays have gone for them so far, I mean, a lot of reactive plays have started off. Now it's time for something proactive. Is Hako going to make his way back to the mid lane?
And that's the important point, Pastry. When a team makes some unforced errors and gives you an opening like this and you get a bunch of gold, then it's on you to turn up the pace, use that extra gold, snowball it out of control, and punish them for those mistakes.
And maybe Taudai bot lane, although P1 going to spot that out and clear out the 2 wards placed in the tri-bush.
Lyra's looking to punish.
His own Taudai, Pyrian's ready. Great Cocoon lands in instantly. Going to package over the way and repels out of the shockwave as well. Ryu getting dope, might lose his blue buff, but Lyra flashes in. He's going to get it. Pyrian's going to fall as a result. And he does get both. The unforced errors continue.
Good thing he saved those summoner spells, actually. Those are allow Ryu to get 2 back, even though he does go down.
Genius, surely.
Yes. That's what we'll call it.
The blue buff disappears into the void. Was stolen and then everybody lost it. As a bit of a fumble in the mid lane there. EnVy with the good attempt, but
it's funny because most genius are only appreciated after they're dead, right? Ryu's only able to get his kills after he's dead. All right, here we go. The cocoon from the Fog of War does land and they go for the chase. It was a good repel here from Lyra, dodging the shockwave, but Ryu still had his flash, so he's going to be able to bait Lyra even further under, and the last turret shot also had cleaned up Pyrian, so the true artist he is. Finds success after death. Uh-oh.
Root onto it special. Ulti's going to lash. Apollo lining up the Featherstorm. Roots the root back in. Ignite is down. Not quite enough for the kill.
Hako
Great attempt as Hako wants it too badly. It's going to cost him. The comedy rolls on.
Hako, too deep. And actually, it's going to leave them with lane control, so not the worst world here. Apollo's going to push those minions into the turret at least.
Kobe is very optimistic today.
Let's see some more around mid lane, though.
Alrighty, 2v2. Good kickback from Mike Young. Lyra into the turret, repels out of the way, but Ryu down. Tanked a little too much as Mike Young tried to make it look real fancy. Pyrian flash goes in. Not enough to get the kill.
Yeah, necessary dodge there on the escape from Mike Young to survive that. Good turnaround here. Team EnVy now taking control of the mid lane. And let's see if they can get more done here. Going for a very aggressive invade. They just had successful priority on both mid and bottom, and they've even called Apollo up here to the mid side.
EnVy very bloodthirsty in this particular game. Gonna try for the turret here first, but not gonna fall back. The Infernal Drake is up for grabs. Malkung used a lot of cooldowns to get out of that attempt on his life.
Zig's bored with the top lane. Get me off my island.
I mean, he's up 20 CS or so I don't mind this roam. Pyrian now trying to get out of the way, but P1's turn to collapse. Hako with a binding delay Zig special.
Oh, Arrow lying in wait.
Here's the flank. Pyrian gonna get stunned. He cleansed pretty early. Looks like he's gonna fall. Kill goes over to Mike Young. Looks like they were trying to give it to Arrow, and now the Infernal Drake gets started.
Interesting. Seraph does have his teleport. He could just stay up at top and try and get turret damage, but he's walking down now. Phoenix1 should be able to pick up this Drake, no problem. Maybe there will be a problem.
All right, well, there's the Drake down. Zig did spot Seraph, who, yeah, I'm not sure why he's leaving the lane, but good binding there onto Arrow. Special a little late to block that one, but Seraph, I guess he was farming mid lane. Pushed in top side, collects a few extra bits of farm, and now pressure continuing in the bottom side of the map. EnVy unrelenting in their aggression, and both teams have paid the price for some reckless play, but...
And in the end, the deeper wards are Team EnVy's wards, inside the jungle at least for them. When they're going for, those super aggressive deep plays into the jungle, they have been leaving a lot of the wards behind. So they know that nobody's on the way with this push. Now they see pings on Mike Young, so they back off a bit, play it a bit safer.
Still looking for that first turret gold. EnVy still up ahead, but
there it is.
Slowed down a bit. 2,000 gold up, gonna make it close to 3 as Lyra walks into the lane. No! That turret living with a few autos left.
Again, they saw Mike Young on that ward. He canceled his recall and walked down here to defend. So they backed off and they're playing a bit safe. They know they don't have to risk it this time. This is an objective that they can just, you know, get 2 more autos on basically to finish up that first turret gold.
Yep, and there it is. Just 2 for Apollo. Gets a lot of gold for himself. He got all of the local gold out of that as well. So first turret bonus does go over to EnVy, who going to continue floating their gold in at the point it was at. A lot of back and forth is giving gold back to P1, but see if EnVy can keep the pace up, but maybe execute a little better. Both teams having a go. As Zig pops his ulti, Seraph already used this to trap him in, but Lyra here going to make it an unfair fight, make it 3v1 as Pyrion roams up for the kill.
Very unfair. Zig did not have his flash because he used it in the you know, bottom lane chase there. So good job by Team EnVy punishing the lack of summoner spell. Seraph, as soon as he saw the dice used after Zig was able to slice, then he goes for the Cataclysm, so there's no more dashes on Renekton. There it is, uses the slice, and the second one's gone, so now he can go for the Cataclysm since he knows he has no flash. Can't get out of the cage. And Lyra here on Elise, he holds onto Cocoon until he sees Zig going for that kill onto Seraph. Moves in with the empowered bar, nails it because he's walking in a straight line, so able to eliminate a lot of those you know, misses that sometimes you'll see from the Elise players on the Cocoon.
And a hugely improved game from Lyra, honestly, from game 1 to game 2. Full 1 and full.
Who's baiting who up here in the top side?
100% kill participation, and a fight is brewing once more. Oh my god! Kicks back, no, doesn't matter, just 1 of the damage.
Don't you love it when that happens? The setup of a bait being placed on a ward causes the other team to bait the bait, and Hako is the one who ends up being toast.
I think it was actually worse that he black shielded himself through that kick. He didn't go anywhere and just ate all of that damage. Cocoon is going to tag Mike Young, but Pyrion, despite having the Trinity Force, not in position to get enough autos down, and P1 looking to trade down for a turret, try and get one back for themselves. Zig doing some work here, but gonna have to bail. And Seraph returns. Kills that way with a Q plus the teammate that he's got. Mike Young gonna go ahead, collect a red buff for himself as we've had that swap played once more. EnVy with the turret inbox already taken down, looking good.
Is he actually 1.5 thousand gold down?
We'll have to see, but Apollo flashes out after the Feather Storm. Hako with a good little binding, Black Shield. He's going to protect himself as he tries to save Apollo. Root down onto Arrow, but Ryu just destroys Hako, and Apollo is soon to follow. Orianna going to grab the double.
Well, glad they got that stat in there before, because Phoenix1 get a couple more kills for themselves, but yeah, right before that, checking it. Uh-oh, Pyrion now under fire.
All right, good cleanse there from Pyrion. Flashes out as well, but turns every summoner to get out alive.
All right, Phoenix1 striking back, getting control over the Rift Herald River. A lot of the vision is being cleared out, and they're even peeking on it now, but it's still 1 ward has been left here from EnVy, so they know it's happening, and we have a wraparound from Lyra. Should be enough to stop him.
Yep, Rift Herald's gonna chase him. But now going to reset back to the pit. Seraph trying for something maybe in the mid lane, but is going to give a little space here for Pyrion, who's got the mid turret very low. Ryu is going to stay and make Seraph stay here as well. Just trying to zone him off the turret, but Ryu playing pretty safe and does have both those summoners and level 2 shockwaves, so should be okay.
Here was the top lane play where we got a set up on the control ward here. Going on to Apollo with a special and arrow initiating. As soon as it lands, the heal for extra movement speed and a little zigzag. It gets Apollo out, but Hako is going to have to pay the price. Then Zig uses his teleport to cut off the escape, and that was kill number 2. Both of those going over to Ryu as well, so some more money to Orianna. Definitely going to benefit Phoenix1's team fighting as we move into the later stages of the game. That's just where they want it. And another Infernal Drake on the way. They could easily add this one to their collection if they're able to set up their wards preemptively.
Yeah. As far as overall map goes, though, EnVy, I mean, still up in total gold, but no turret really being taken by P1. It's just some extra gold from kills that they're really getting here. They tried the Rift Herald, that was stopped by EnVy as Lyra was able to check it, and EnVy's still in a good spot to try and force a fight around this objective. There's already been 15 kills in this game. If Special might make it 16. And he's pretty safe with the shields and being nice and tanky on the Braum.
Yeah, Zig is coming up for the bottom side, and the Infernal Drake is definitely going to spark some action here. See if Team Envy actually retreat, because they currently have positioning on the bottom side. Flank possible from Zig, who does have his flash, but the Rage Bar is decaying.
About as ready to fight as they'll be, though, for Envy at this stage.
Oh, Apollo!
No friends here for Apollo. Featherstorm's out of the way. Surf going to try and save him. Actually might be enough. Multi-pop by Zig with a great glacial finder. He's going to lock that down. Surf flashes out of the way, but Apollo already dead. P1 now in a 5v4.
Right down the river, and Zig's flank finally does pay off. They're able to catch him right out of the Featherstorm. And Infernal Drake number 2, Varg, and he steals will be Phoenix1.
No shenanigans there. Mike Young able to smite that down, and P1 still hunting for that first big objective, but picking up invisible gold as they get that second Drake.
Yeah, the added power here of the Infernals double stacking now makes them feel very good about this. The gold deficit, as you said, the outer turrets could fall pretty quickly for them, so and Team Envy need to be very careful here, giving a lot of ground.
And again, it's easy for me to say because I can see what the gold looks like, but Envy feel like they're playing very frantic. Given how the game started, you felt like they could maybe sit on that lead and ride it home, but they've just tried consistently to keep themselves in the lead, and unfortunately when it backfires, you just fall further behind, and they're still in the lead. And
a big part of that was, as you saw that drop down, the gold difference, so much of Team Envy's gold difference was purely on Lyra, on the jungler, because Elise does get so many of the last hits with all the execute damage, but it was pretty much only Lyra and Apollo that even had gold leads around that 2,000 mark, and now they're really looking to turn it into that objective.
All right, well, this is good for Envy. Gonna take down this turret. Tyrion, again, BF Sword plus that Trinity Force, very strong. Able to take down turrets. I knocked down number 2. P1 still hunting for that first turret. Envy doing a nice job keeping their structures alive, and as Ryu brushes past mid turret, you can see that one's also about 20% health. Envy can, again, I think they just take a breath, slow things down a little bit. Should be feeling a lot better about riding this advantage home, but P1 have done a really good job after fumbling, catching Envy's fumbles and then getting some gold back for themselves. So I think this game could be much
It's
further
been hot potato, actually.
Yes.
You fumble, I fumble. You fumble, I fumble. Here we go. Pyrian has a package, but nobody's around to use it on.
Well, we'll zip between lanes perhaps then. Able to take some farm, get that pressure started as the wave pushes towards the tier 2. Arrow creeping through his own jungle. Gonna take the red buff away and continue to build strength for himself.
They are converging around the mid lane here. Not too much vision is up, but Phoenix1, you can tell they're trying to get their defensive ones down, guarding the entrances to their jungle. They are able to escape all of the attempts at collapse here from Team Envy. And they know that with these 2 Infernal Drakes in the bank and another one on the way, as long as they don't give up, a sizable amount of gold here in the meantime, they actually have a very decent chance at a very real comeback here. It looks like the package timing out, and Phoenix1 gonna go fairly aggressive around mid lane after they know that Pyrian won't have that extra range you can jump from the top side with.
Yeah, and again, just kind of waves being bounced back and forth, particularly on this bottom side of the map. Zig does have the minions pressured back in, as Seraph was here to maybe start a team fight. Still looking for it, perhaps.
Oh, another flank from Zig is coming up from the bottom, but there they go!
Seraph already went in, but he's immune with the black shield on top of him. Stun's gonna land in, and he goes down as Zig jumps into the carries. Apollo's stunned up in the backside, and Shockwave is gonna miss. Apollo able to get out with a flash, but had to burn the heal as well. Zig now getting turned back around on damage is there as Apollo claims a counter kill. Top lane is down for both sides, but Envy a little too low maybe.
Yeah, good damage there from Pyrian and Apollo, able to whittle down Zig as he's just stuck on the front line with a very long CC duration. Meanwhile, though, Phoenix1 still have the health bars and X-Special blocking so much of the counter damage here.
Well, enough to maybe take down the turret. Great binding on a Ryu, though. It's actually going to force 2 turret hits onto him, and that might actually stop the siege from Phoenix1, who is still looking for that first turret of the game. mean, it's one of those things where, you know what, we're getting them low, we can get them later, it's gold we'll have eventually, but if you don't actually take them, you don't get the gold.
It's true. And they know as well that they don't want to overextend. A minute and 40 left on Infernal Drake. And any extra type of gold here could swing the tide of the next battle. So still looking at that top and mid outer turret. Barely standing for Team EnVy, but that's where Phoenix1 can attack. All right, here's the initiation from Seraph onto Apollo. And even though, as you said, with the Black Shield, he was trying to walk his way out, he got exhausted before and he was pretty slow. But then here's the CC duration, gets locked up, then comes the binding through, then comes the root here from Xayah, and that is enough to take down the front line.
Need to have Iron Actin just watching the world burn around you.
It's always like, oh, I want my Ninja Tabi for my 1v1 with Jarvan, but team fight, the Cocoon and the binding and the wrap there from Xayah, too much.
Yeah, I think I don't see too many more gunners these days. Hakuo with it here, and Ole, kind of the other name that jumps to mind in the NALCS, but it just lasts so long.
All right, I have to say, Pastry, 24 minutes in, we could have this next fight break the entire game open, because there's an Infernal Drake on the line, and if Phoenix1 win the fight, there are those 2 outer turrets that they could get a whole bunch of gold, so this could be a very large turning point in the game. Both teams need to know how important the vision is to set up for this Drake fight, because the stakes are high.
Another good binding though, but Kyrian getting aggressed on, cleanses out of the way though. Aura's ultimate was actually the thing he got out of, so Chain of Corruption down now for P1. EnVy again, another good binding, special magnetized to them at this point. Kyrian also with a big spike, so this is a good
teleport play.
Seraph needs to find the perfect angle on this engage. Goes in, who's he looking for? Aura gonna get blown up actually, he gets cut off this time as Seraph traps Zig in, but he dices out of the way.
What an important kill there for Team EnVy. They take all of the power out of this mid game here from Phoenix1, get an Infernal Drake back for themselves, and deny the gold of those outer turrets for a bit longer. Whew.
And again, it's one of those things that frustration really starts to mount.
Another
great finding by Hakuo. Zig gonna die to Lero, who's full tank Elise at the moment, by the way. Still enough execute damage to get his 6th kill, of the game as Lockett popped in. That shakes off the ultimate damage from Ryu.
Yeah, all right. That binding earning them another kill. Plus, now there's no threat of the teleport coming through. Huge here for Team EnVy. See if they can get their recalls off, though, to go spend all that gold.
Ryu still stopping them. Yep, Apollo going to have to go back in. Also, mid-push stopped for both teams briefly. EnVy looking to reset, aren't able to take that 3rd outer turret. Again, P1 still on the hunt for theirs, so Arrow and Ryu are going to start the push up and try and get something back.
Yeah, all right, there you are, looking to wrap in and dive. Force them off the turret at the very least. A little bit of zoning is enough.
All right, and there's that turret P1, kind of breaking that curse, opening up the most important section of the map for themselves. And that is a big sigh of relief, honestly, for a team to breathe, because the further you get locked out of turrets, the more that kind of frustration starts to mount. EnVy, though, still on the counterattack. Should be able to trade the mid turrets here, which they'll be more than happy with.
Yeah, the rapid fire was done for a while here for Apollo, so the auto attacks again are increased, but no team members around to give him the shield or the safety to go for that turret. Phoenix1 definitely going to do everything they can to defend it, and Zig trying to get his push off.
I'm not sure, Tim. Yep, there we go. That's kind of what I thought would happen. Oh, great ult from Apollo. Dodging out Arrow's ultimate.
1-3-1, once again, send the Corki to the side lane. Currently, Pyrian is pushing on the top side. And you do that when you have package because you know you can't escape. You can't get interrupted when you're in it, and it's pretty much a freebie right back down the lane.
And I kind of mentioned this before, but EnVy were a team that when they found the comps that let them play their style, they looked very good. And this is kind of a pretty similar look. I mean, the champions are different, they're more meta, but Talia and Corki instead of Talia, like Jarvan instead of Jace, like the concept is still there.
Yeah, I mean, the package is pretty similar, and it covers like a comparable distance to Talia's ultimate. Problem is, very long cooldown on it, and they only have that small window to try and use him as the side lane pressure, but got a little bit of it off there, and it is that similar look. Let's see if they can pull off the pincer movement, though. Apollo, or Arrow is pretty far up the mid lane here, and both sides are ready to collapse.
Seraph is gaining a lot of ground in this game. Both the bruises of this in the top lane matchup, still waiting for that stone plate. Arrow eats a binding though. Special moves in to defend, so it does protect him, but locket blown by P1. EnVy just happy to stay sieging for a pretty long time in this game. Hot shots there from Pyrion. You chunk out Ryu. P1 move over to clear out some of the vision around that barren side of the map. And it does feel like, despite the frenetic pace of the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game, teams are slowing things down, trying to stay grouped a little longer and just find that perfect angle of engagement.
Meanwhile, Lyra fighting over the pink wards.
Wins that part of the fight, but Ryu's still threatening. Lyra going to take the blast gun out on the back of the Baron pit out to safety.
Yeah, the reason we're seeing this stalemate, by the way, is because in the bottom lane, Seraph is doing just fine in the 1 versus 1. So Renekton didn't have that super strong early game to get up that big CS lead where you get extra items later and then you can bully. Seraph feels just fine. He's got all the sustaining of his growthing potion plus his Doran shield, and currently matching Zig. Both of them have comparable amounts of cash left in the bank as well. So if the 1v1 on that side is a stalemate, then the only real opening and advantage of EnVy is when you have that long cooldown of the package coming up where you get the extra split pusher of Corki. But until then, it's all fighting over pink wards, looking for these picks with Cocoon and Bindings. And if you're not able to find your Cocoons or Bindings in those picks, they don't have the team fight presence to actually just brute force it. So it is a bit more a finesse here in the early game where you're trying to work over the vision first, and out of that vision has to come the little advantage.
Yep, and again, it's just that one extra tower for EnVy that it's kind of causing a lot of these problems. Pyrion, despite not having the package, and it is up on a very long cooldown, just sitting top lane, forcing Ryu to come and push waves. He also wants to be there to clear up mid wave, so P1 can't really move their mid laner out that aggressively just because EnVy have a little bit of extra territory to play with. So 30.5 minutes in, still a very long way to go to try and clear out the rest of this game. Pretty unclear who's really in the lead. EnVy ahead on total resources, but doesn't feel like they're that far ahead.
Yeah, if they could, move up their ward line a little bit into the red quadrant, then even without package, I would say just send Pyrion, to gain that pressure. And then once you have the pressure on the sides, then you look for those pincers. And that's where most of the picks usually come from, as the enemy team is feeling the pressure and having to decide between which one to go answer. That's when you usually pick people off moving between the lanes and between the jungle, but they haven't been able to get inside the jungle for those wards, and Phoenix1 not allowing them really that space to get those picks.
Well, again, the very long bot lane battle continues. Zig trying to do what he can on the turrets, but Seraph is defending admirably. This poke keeps landing on an arrow. He's definitely playing pretty far forward, but Pyrion is almost up with the, I assume, rapid fire cannon as that next item. And with Apollo already completing 3 items, maybe EnVy just waiting for that 3rd item on their other marksman, and at that point they have more than enough team fight damage to try and get a pick or start a straight up 5v5. They were even going to start the break actually, so feeling pretty confident despite P1 being on the Baron side of the map to try and take this down. Should save this might here, I imagine, but pretty quick to take with all their damage just here, and P1 not enough vision to even start the Baron and try and force them away.
Yeah, there's not really much threat to their possible bluff of starting up the Baron, so maybe also going to collect the extra gold here. Mid turret going down might be the key to those wards in the jungle we were talking about, and be the key for Team EnVy to move on to step number 2 in the game, where they can actually crack this defense of Phoenix1.
Well, it looks like some big item buy is going to complete. He's actually static Shiv next for Pyrion, so I tell a lie on the rapid fire cannon. It'll come eventually. Probably the next item there for Corki.
The Shiv is the bigger burst. It just doesn't give you the extra range. So if Pyrion doesn't feel scared about getting into range, then Shiv is going to give you that bigger punch. So maybe we'll see one of those autos land onto somebody like Arrow, where you get so much value, and we saw those big chunks like 50% of a marksman's health at this stage.
Again, also Arrow getting stronger. Death Cap completed for Ryu as well. We've kind of had a lot of farming in this game, so people are building up towards those huge items already.
Yeah. Plus, the other advantage, what the item is built for Static Shiv, is pushing in the side lane, and that increases Corki's, wave control. He already has really good wave control, with the Phosphorus Bomb, but Static Shiv means he can almost instantly do it. Meanwhile, mid.
Oh, flash off from Special, but dodged by the Feather Storm. Roots 2 as Arrow gets chunked out of the way. Period takes the turret, but the
he's in.
Onto Apollo. He is going to seal his death. Arrow able to take that down, but Seraph can look to take that Arrow instead. He flashed up, but Seraph follow flash. Shockwave to save his AD.
That was such a good vacuum Shockwave.
Flashed on onto Pyrian as P1 on the chase.
Oh, Ryu with the vacuum cleaner. All right, let's look at the scramble now. They're on the chase base tree. Who's next?
Pyrian cut off, but no summoners, nothing left. Packages going in. Goodbye, sir. Arrow with another kill.
All right, now 5 members still standing from Phoenix1. I guess they still have possible targets to chase. Do they know Lyra's in there?
They do now. Good word from Special. TP back in from Zig. Lyra can get into Stealer, but he's gonna have to guess.
All right, he's got the black shield on. He can get in. He won't be getting out, but he's got at least got a one-way ticket.
P1, are they going to be patient? Lyra in Spider Form repels up. They do wait. They're just going to wait. No blast code, no hope at all. Lyra flashes in. He tries to steal it, but he gets stunned. Mike Young smites it down anyway. And P1 collect it all.
Oh, my goodness. Whew. All right, let's take another look at this, because Special gets all the utility out of Apollo by landing this, trading ult for ult, and keeping up the engage there. Flash is already down, so that makes it easy for Mike Young after he lands his Q to go get that execute. And this was the really neat part. Seraph is on Apollo, and that's about as much peeling as you can do, but then Ryu keeps the ball on his head with his shield first, so then he can utilize the knockback here on his Shockwave in a slightly more creative way than we usually see it. To get a bit of peel in there for Arrow, just to make sure that he wasn't going to go down. It still would have been close, whether or not Seraph even was going to have his cooldown for a Q back up to get the execute, but pretty cool.
Very cool play, I will say there for Ryu, as Zig with the Baron buff finally taking that stubborn top outer turret. And P1 should start to pick up objectives pretty quickly with Baron buff, as Seraph posturing very far forward.
Yeah, look at that. Baron buff, and the gold is pretty much back to even. This turret going down imminently.
Going to be back to uneven soon, as Pyrian killed every creep but the important one with that big one. Cannon creep stays alive. EnVy not able to save that turret. P1 rapidly approaching parity on those objectives. I do like that the bottom outer turret's still there, just hanging out. That's the one that Zig really wants, I think. Blue buff steal there for Ryu. It's P1 compounding on their advantage after taking that fight and the Baron buff.
Yeah, they also want to go spend all that money, because that was a clean pickup of a bunch of kills with the Baron buff, and then another wave of money coming through after all the turrets they got with said Baron buff. So they have had a very recent influx of cash in moments there, and Phoenix1 feeling so much more confident in their team fight now. Those Infernal Drakes they got early, definitely paying off.
Investment Drake certainly looking good. Mike Young gonna set up for that Elder Dragon coming up in a minute 5. Still got a bit of Baron left to play with as well.
So let's go over the improvements that we've seen from Phoenix1, right? Game number 1 was pretty clear as far as how well they were able to snowball, but I had to say that last play, especially Special, the initiative he takes, seeing Apollo out of position, landing his Q, and then the entire team is on the same page with going forward and pressing this opening that they've found, then you also have to, execute on the play, but that's kind of what they were talking about when they did pick up Special, and even though Hako had his reservations about it, it was pretty clearly on display there as far as the shot calling, the decisiveness, the playmaking, a bit of that experience, and kind of the veteran factor. Even though Phoenix1 were down, they earned themselves a way right back into the game.
Well, another fight brewing here. Mike Young with the ball on top of him after getting bound up and cocooned by Hakuo and Lyra, but that play dissipates pretty swiftly as Baron buff's gonna fall off as well. Looks like P1 couldn't get too much extra damage on, although MikeYoung is going to start the Elder Drake. I guess that's special that made it angry. He's gonna run back towards his teammates as P1 camping that right side tri-bush right now.
Yeah, they gotta worry a little bit now because the Orianna definitely scaled into a very powerful team fighter. And the positioning here for the setup is gonna be crucial. Can't afford for one of those big shock waves to land on their carries.
Gonna make sure they have eyes on the objectives. EnVyUs gonna straight up start this. Force P1 to come to the area.
Binding's down, they should go.
Arrow lands in onto Apollo actually, but
Piran's out of the fight. They've got him on the run now. This is full Phoenix1.
Yeah, already got chunked in. A little weird here is especially gonna take a lot of damage on. Gets a double knock with a Glacial Fissure. As there's the Drake going over to P1. They kind of just walked up and took it after chunking Pyrian.
Yeah, so binding from Morgana is gone. That, is a lot of the threat from the Dragon side, and Pyrian just kind of was away from the team, walking in the river. That chunk that you talk about takes him all the way out of the team fight, and it's basically a 4-on-5 at that point. So Phoenix1 get the next global objective as well.
Well, misspoke slightly earlier. It was Chain of Corruption that landed for Arrow, but the fact that it hit Apollo's pretty miraculous. Given there's a Morgana and it's a Xayah with her ultimate to get her out to safety. So bit of a head scratcher in these last few engages, it feels like, for Envy. They did have a good early lead that they held for the majority of this game, but P1 just kind of crawled their way back in. It crept up back into the lead. A huge Baron power play to right the ship in this game, and it just feels like Envy aren't feeling a whole lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same issue that's plagued Envy for a while now, I guess. Their mid-game shot calling and then their team fighting not quite coming together. Let's see, Phoenix1 with this Elder Dragon, will they be able to actually push up and claim the last two of these outer turrets? Mid and bottom in position right now. Seraph does have teleport, but it looks like he just wants to walk his way behind. I don't think Envy even want to fight while the buff is on, though. Unless they see somebody really out of position.
Oh, they're actually going to go all in for Arrow. Good on there. Sarah stops the follow-up engage. Pops the Stone Plate, lock it there as well. So a lot of extra health there for Seraph. But Pyrian, again, not able to find the fight, getting flanked out by the rest of P1. Now just a simple rotation down the bot lane.
Burn damage is taking its toll. There aren't really good flank wards for teleport from Seraph either. Even though he does recall there's not any really good spot, and they'd much rather just give up the turret rather than fighting into an Elder Dragon buff.
So it gets dropped off now. P1 no, though. They just really need to take the turret. No, never mind. Arrow still has the buff, so on for a little while longer. But Baron being up soon means that P1 just take the safe turret. They're going to regroup, spend their money, and move back around the top side of the map to take yet another Baron. Did a ton of work with that first Baron, about 5,500 gold. Yeah, that Baron power play, and if they get another one, it feels like it's likely game breaking.
I would say they need MikeYoung to go back to base right now to grab a control ward for his last spot, because even though they have X-Special's control ward, and he's got 3 of them, you need to cover the space of 2 of them to be able to get a really good denial of vision. And he's going to stick around though, and they're just going to play off of the 1 control ward and the 1 sweeper. Maybe difficult for them to actually get all those wards.
Maybe.
Envy know they're just inside baiting.
Envy looking to fight. Oh! It's an ulti though, but now Seraph gonna dive back in. MikeYoung fighting Pyrian on the side, but he's losing that 1v1. Zig pops the ulti and gets out of the way. Envy still on chase. Finding special with the roots. Seraph blew the ulti already, so can't re-engage. And P1, they get a little low, but Envy don't find any kills.
Yeah, you got to do a better job. I think more complete vision coverage there when you do have the momentum in the game like that, and they don't quite do it. Now they're just trading turns in that side lane brush of the river.
Seraph actually goes back to his TP, so gonna restock on health and maybe gets a few extra bits to buy. Actually has to answer bottom side as well, so gonna stop that wave as the map goes back to neutral. Hakuo able to sweep out 2 wards, pops the control ward down in the pit, and gonna clear out that backside ward as well.
That is the important area to control. Team Envy could still very easily take a team fight if Phoenix1 are not careful. I mean, the gold doesn't really matter right now as far as the difference. It's so much more important to be able to have vision to set up one of these team fights, because in 1 second, we can take a big chunk.
You see the damage that Pyrion is dishing out right now, almost full build with just up more Malmortius to complete.
Oh, they smell blood converging from all angles.
Seraph are going to try and line it up. Ooh, that looks like a 5-man cataclysm in the works.
This is on the chain of corruption.
Don lands on an arrow, but he Q assessed out already. Mike Young ward hops to safety. Envy get a couple cooldowns there.
Yeah, they're definitely playing with fire here. Zig took a good 20% of his HP there in that little exchange, and Team Envy with a pretty quick collapse. It's just going to be both teams sitting around the Baron pit, fighting over the vision until somebody gets picked.
Well, his special is really tanky, actually.
Party in the bush.
Especially with the chair up, so tanks the initial bit of poke. And yeah, it just looks like this brush is really the one to have control of.
That brush has seen a lot of action. There are like a bunch of drunk, passed out people over there. Everybody's... All right, they're actually making a move down the mid lane. They have a minion wave they're moving with, but Envy start up the Baron.
Yeah, Envy fortunately have a lot of damage here with their 2 marksmen. Lyra late. Envy not going to finish the Baron. Smart choice. That means P1 still have inside track on mid lane, but 2 giant side lanes are the reason Envy are trying to buy some time.
All right, started up again. Every time they go for the mid lane, Envy trying to start the party.
A very extended bait here by Envy, but again, they're just being patient.
They actually sent Ryu alone, so they're defending 4 now, while Ryu goes to get the turret. Will Team Envy actually force the fight now that they're separated?
Seraph looking for a flank on the other side, but Ryu rejoins, doesn't get the turret just yet. Trying to stay out of vision, I think, but now gonna commit to the turret. Last side of Lordo should be enough, and gonna get the wave kill going. Now Envy back on Baron. Seraph trying to cut them off.
They're looking for the opening. There it is!
Oh, Special is going to be the target, but he lives! Shields popped everywhere. Redemption down for Envy.
What they're actually looking for is some way to get onto Arrow, because Arrow's flash is down. But again, they haven't found it, and Baron, huge chunk out of Hakua's health bar now. Oh!
I don't know about this recoil channel by Lyra. Gonna finish it. They have to enter side lanes. I mean, Envy's minions are actually doing a ton of work for them. That top in-hit turret might even go down here. Looks like the wave's big enough. And the bottom turret already died.
Yep.
So, Envy, the minions helping them out. That's 2 turrets.
That's 2 for the minions, baby. Do your homework. Pay attention to your side waves.
And that evens the turrets up, interestingly enough.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, so Phoenix1 got the one in the mid lane while they were dancing around. And then the minions got 2 for Envy. But a lot of the gold is also local, so... In the end, what matters is who's going to be able to get a pick from this river brush. Who's getting the control ward in there first?
All right, they sweep out the vision. Envy now with Dominion.
With
the party brush. For now. Seen that change hands a lot here. It's like one of those surreal central territories in Risk. Everyone just keeps taking it back and forth. It's definitely not Australia. Australia is the fortress of
I kind of like Australia plus Asia combo. Make a deal with whoever's got most of that. All right, well, honestly, this exposed inhibitor plus the package should be a big point of pressure for Team Envy, as an auto attack from Pyrion at this point does a tremendous amount. But again, Phoenix1 are actually playing defense in their red quadrant with vision decently well, and they're keeping up their defensive vision. So it makes it risky for Pyrion to go for that. And because of that...
2-man Baron is the answer.
All right, no vision.
Pretty quick work of this. Mike Young going the long way. They finally get a bit of vision, but might wear off too early. Mike Young lining up the steal.
3,000!
Envy kind of want to do something here, but going to pull off the Baron. TP committed though for Zig. Envy happy to get 1 cooldown.
This is the lamest party ever.
It is. And it's dragging on. I mean, we're almost 50 minutes into this game.
Baron is the host, and even he's getting bored of it. Oh, we got a root.
Maybe not enough here. Special. Oh, there's a double knockup from the flag and drag. But now actually a stun down, and that's a good chain CC to kill Lero, who was full tank elite. Seraph popping the stone, but he has so much health. Looks like 6 to 8.
Jungler down, Pastry!
Alrighty, here we go. Gonna start the Baron. The host is very grumpy that his party is
trying to get him to go home, but here it goes, 2,000, it's going down!
Baron goes over to P1. Mike Young over to smite it, but Seraph trying to chase the kills on the backside of the map. Shutdown lands as Ryu falls. Seraph gonna get the double kills. He gets Arrow also went down. Mike Young, GA falls. Zig gonna get out of the way as Pyrians looking to chase Zig. One missile, not enough. But they are gonna take Mike Young. It cost them 4 lives, but P1 get the Baron.
That's pretty, and he even did go down too. That's actually favorable for Team Envy with the length of these death timers. It should be an inhibitor. So you get Baron buff on Zig, but you're gonna lose at least 1 inhibitor. All right, what is Zig doing? He's gonna cut this minion wave? That'd be pretty risky. They've got 1 minion with them. So if he goes and kills all the other ones, then they can't do anything. All right, they could just face tank this. With the 1 minion is all you need to take off the back door. And is it gonna be the game?
I mean, they're gonna try for it here.
That is the hero minion, he did it!
One caster creep. He's gonna expose the Nexus. Envy gonna force a 3rd game.
The one minion. They ushered him in.
What a bizarre ending to that game. Yeah, Ryu leaning back in the chair, doesn't seem too happy about that result.
How could you be?
I mean, yeah, P1 had the sweep in their eyes, but Envy holding on. Again, just such... That's 2 games in a row. I'm just scratching my head, being like, how exactly did that happen? P1 kind of just smoothly snowballing, but the win sort of came out of nowhere. And then Envy found their lead. Yeah, that was a topsy-turvy back and forth game. Envy found a lead. Throw it back.
Smooth.
What?
Lyra's early game.
Yes.
On Elise, he did have that 1,500 gold lead all to himself from all the kills that he was creating and getting Envy into that position. But yeah, aside from that, it was
that was a mess.
Don't even know barn burner. That was the term that we had for it.
It was a barn burner, a 40,000 damage Corki. Maybe we found the solution to move these games forward. But for a deeper dive on that game, let's hand it off to Dash and Zyrene.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Envy taking the victory in a very back and forth, very long game 2 here in this series. But it was a story of the lead being tossed back and forth, right? You heard Kobe talk about it there. The smoothest part of this game was the early game from Lyra. And hey, guess what? They put him on a jungler that can create action early in the game, that can contest Mike Young in the jungle and in the early game. And they get a lead for it.
It's like somebody was saying that at the end of game 1, you know?
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
A really smart person.
Maybe some great
analyst
analyst or something.
Well, I mean, the point is that it did happen, and he did play to that style, right? We saw very early on he was up in the face of Mike Young, pushing him out of his jungle, taking his camps, and then extending his own lead to his laners.
Immediately, right out of the gate, he was level 3, got his buffs, made sure that he had his red and his blue, got a super leash, and then went over into the jungle to bully Mike Young and make sure that he couldn't really get a lot of his camps. And really, I thought that was super good by them. As you know, I think the big thing here in this team composition is the fact that they were able to. Oh, sorry. No,
it's all right.
Ending push here. This is a hero minion, by the way. They talked about it the whole time, where this 1 minion is all it really takes to get into the base and make sure that those backdoor bonuses are gone.
Right, you see Zig positioning himself to cut the wave like we see a lot of members do at these late stages of the game, but the problem is you only need 1 minion to debuff those turrets, and since he misses that one, Envy smartly face tanks the turret damage themselves so that the minion lives and they can close out the game. This is, of course, following that massive late game team fight. Let's talk about that for a moment, because the Baron Secure was there out of Phoenix1 following zeroing out Lyra in that late game team fight. But then the choice to take the fight immediately following and then losing it proved catastrophic for Phoenix1.
Yeah, Phoenix1 has some pretty questionable decisions around Baron that I've seen. whether it's contesting it. Their side lanes are getting completely shoved in. They're losing turrets, multiple turrets, just from the minion waves that have been stacked up because they're positioning. They get their TP baited out very easily, and that happens over and over again where Phoenix1 have mid priority, but they don't know how to leverage it. They don't know how to push it and maintain an advantage at Baron, and it happens where teams are exploiting them there.
Right, and we saw throughout the mid game the way that Phoenix1 got back into the game was with minor mistakes from EnVy, capitalizing in skirmishes to win fights, take the Infernal Drakes, and ultimately build a gold lead. But it is those late game circumstances where they seem to still be unpracticed with Mike Young, for example, and especially now on the roster, and they're still needing to, probably work through some kinks around how to play. Hey, we've got 2 massive waves building in our side lanes for about 2 minutes straight now. What are we going to do to defend this as opposed to giving up multiple turrets, one of which was an inhib turret?
Yeah, at the same time, you can push down mid. You can actually fight the Baron itself. You have a lot of options available to you, but they say we can't even go back and clear those minions out because of what happens. Oh no, they're going to take our turrets or they'll take the Baron. But the whole thing is, what happens after? Oh, they get to go clear those minion waves because what did they do? They pushed them off the Baron by fighting them a little bit.
Right.
And they were afraid to do that because the arrow didn't have flash and they were playing around that. So it's kind of like you talking about it a little bit where when P1 had a deficit, they were making ballsy plays, jumping forward, making sure that they kept going in and that they got back into the game.
Right.
But when they had a way to kind of, they were on equal footing, they were like, okay, let's slow this down, make sure nobody does anything crazy, and now they're losing side lanes.
Right, it's kind of peculiar. I mean, to some degree, it makes sense from a psychological standpoint. It's like, well, we're really far behind, so at this point, we kind of feel like, well, let's just try things to get back in, and that's where they were more willing to make those plays and take those risks. And then they came to the realization, wait, we're 100% back in this game. If anything, we're winning this game, and that's when the reservations set back in, and you saw that kind of temperedness in the decision-making from that point forward.
Yeah, when you're losing the game and you make a play, you are making a play that's either in line with the game or a winning play.
Right.
If you're winning and you make a play, you're either going in line with the game or you're losing your team the game.
That's a very good point. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of balancing that in your brain and still finding the willingness to make plays even when you are even or ahead. Now I want to go back real quick because we unfortunately jumped ahead to the Lyra point. Lyra doing work in the early game. Again, this is very indicative of the EnVy squad. This guy, when he's given the tools to make things happen in the early game, will perform for you.
Oh, every single time. Lyra is just very consistent when he's on a champion that he can carry on or at least have early game pressure, and then his build lent itself a little bit more to controlling and not so much damage. And this was a blind cocoon into the bush. Like,
yeah, that's jungler sense,
knowing
where he would go.
Right? And he knew that he had the bully potential, that he had red and blue, and the Lee Sin didn't have red, so he couldn't really contest him in that area.
Yep.
And so overall, and also that he didn't have smite because he smited the Raptor away, right?
Right.
So Lyra really just taking control of it. The guy, I was watching over and over again, it's like, oh, 100% kill participation. 100% kill participation.
Right.
29 minutes in the game. He's like
100% kill participation.
6-1 and 5 or
Yep.
5-1 and 6. And it's like 100% kill participation. Until
Nothing happens for EnVy unless Lyra's involved.
Exactly. And then the final moments of the game where he gets picked off, the team finally goes, oh, let's do something. And they
Right.
win the fight without Lyra.
Nothing happens. No, Lyra was involved. He had to get picked first, Cyrene. If he didn't get picked, they would have never fought the fight. No, either way, Lyra obviously showed up huge for the team here early in the game, indicative of his performances in spring.
I loved this one because they're getting flanked by Ryu and the Orianna comes around and Lyra's like, no, we're going to fight these guys in front of us and avoid the Orianna to the point that Ryu just actually backs because he can't rejoin that fight.
Yeah.
And then Pyrian has the inside track. So by most standards, that position is a losing position for EnVy because they're about to get dove. But then they get the cocoon, they go forward, and they have a really good fight after.
Look at that gold swing. Over a 7K gold swing from the point in which EnVy has their largest lead to where Phoenix1 has their largest lead. But now I want to talk about one final thing, which is we talk about this great early game from Lyra and how far he got EnVy ahead, and you see it here illustrated in the gold graph. Why the heck is P1 even given the opportunity to get back into this game? And that's where we do, once again, have to give or lend a critical eye to a lot of the other players on EnVy for those moments in the game where their judgment lapses, they misposition themselves, they're overextending, reaching too far for things and giving back advantages and kills where they don't need to be, and ultimately giving their opponents too many opportunities to get back into the game.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place. You know, I think Seraph in particular was somebody that didn't have a really good performance at all. Pyrian, though, I do want to say, on the other hand, you know, he's kind of the guy that is having those carry performances in the later parts of the game. Like, even when we interviewed him, he's like, well, you know, what he brought to the team instead of Ninja was consistent later parts of the game where he can have carry performances. And I think he did that this game and kind of made up for some of the slack.
Oh, yeah, pumping out 40K damage in a single game is pretty good. Nothing to to shake your head at. Either way, Envy does pick up the victory, which extends us to a Game 3. The teams are all tied up, but only one can claim the win. Meet us back here for that third game between Phoenix1 and Team Envy in just a few minutes.